Hi there, everybody. I'm Don Gordon. I have written a book that I hope many of you will be interested in, and I'm here today in Santa Fe um, with my bookseller, Ricky Sherrill, and she's going to interview me. And I hope by the time we're finished that you will naturally, of course, I want you to rush out and buy the book. But here we go.
Well, the first thing you need to tell the audience is the name of your book. And here it is so they can see how attractive it is.
The book is called A Republic, Can We Keep It? Benjamin Franklin was asked moments after the Constitution was adopted by a lady friend, "Well, Dr. Franklin, what do we have here? Do we have a monarchy or do we have a republic?" And he looked at her quickly and he said, "A republic, if you can keep it." You probably already have an idea of what the book is about. It's a novel, it's a story about how a successful third party might come about in this country. As many of you know, the system is rigged against them. On the other hand, what we certainly need, I think, is a successful centrist party. And this story, set in the very near future, tells the reader how that could happen.
Of course, you've told me lots of issues in the book, but right now, if I want to sell the book, what do I tell the customers the story's about?
Well, there's a love story in it, but it's primarily a story about a group of people who get together and start working from the grassroots up to build support for a platform for a third party, which they gather from focus groups all around the country. And this takes months, even several years. And that's the beginning. It moves fast. It has a surprising set of conclusions. And anyway, Ricky will lead us further here.
Well, what impelled you to write a book like this?
Well, I have been hooked on American history and culture all my life. It's my passion. And as many of you know, we don't choose our passions, we simply inhabit them. And the short of it is, I can't help it. I love the country. I care about it. I don't like to see it abusing itself. And I couldn't stand it any longer, so I wrote the book.
Well, what market are you aiming at?
Well, I'd love young people to pick it up. I'm thinking of men and women all over the country, middle class men and women mostly, I suppose. Um, it will offend the big corporate figures, and that's great. It should. Um, so I guess that's the market. I'd like people to pick it up and find hope and possibility in it.
Well, as I told you before, I thought that it was kind of a guy story because of the dialogue. It's the way men talk to each other. Can you tell me more who you think it might be appealing to?
I think it would appeal, certainly it would appeal to men, many men, and women, I think, because the love story is not primary, certainly, um, but it's an interesting one, and it points to the difficulties of successful relationships in the modern world, where everything's moving very fast, and men and women both have their careers to consider, and so on. So I think women would find it interesting as a look-see at that problem, but also a look-see into the mind and attitudes of men, the kinds of attitudes they often don't share.
Well, do you think this should have been a nonfiction book?
Well, I suppose it could have been, but I don't have a poli-sci chair at Berkeley or Harvard or anywhere, and I knew I couldn't command a publisher's attention, So I decided to do a novel.
And when did you get interested in American history?
I suppose I came by it naturally when I was about 10 years old, growing up in a 350-year-old house not far from Plymouth, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow. Now, the characters in the book are pretty complex. Can you tell us about each one of them? Or maybe
Well,
not all of them, some of them.
well, some of them, the main character is a college instructor who becomes a columnist. One of his buddies, a classmate, is a lawyer in Washington. Um, Another classmate turns out to be an antagonist. Um, and the lady, the love interest for the main character, is an international journalist. And so all of these people are in positions to interact, and they're all conversant with the issues from one point of view or another. And all I can tell you is that it gets livelier as it goes on.
You mentioned a history professor. I know your background is education. Can you tell us some of the things you've done with your background, in your background?
Well, I was an independent school headmaster in Andover, Massachusetts. For a dozen years, I was a small women's college president. I was a consultant for 12 years. And toward the end, I'm retired now, toward the end, I was a college teacher in Denver for about 15 years. American history mostly, but 20th century history, literature, and so on.
Now, we've talked a lot about the book and your background, but do you have a website for your book?
Yes, the website is arepublicbook.com. arepublicbook, all one word, .com. If you go there, you'll find everything you need.
Oh, boy. Are you writing more now?
Yes, I'm working on a collection of vignettes. I'm working on a second novel. I've written 3 editorials here in the state paper, the New Mexican. I'm working on lots of other editorials and hoping to plant them around the country.
Do you have any predictions regarding the fall of 2010?
Well,
I mean, no, that's 2012.
well, I guess I would call Obama almost sort of a stealth president. He gets wrapped constantly by the media because he's not out there glad-handing in a familiar fashion. He's very bright, he's procedural, he's thoughtful, a lot of things that we sometimes don't associate with our presidents because we want them to be more like us. And he's not. He's almost professorial at times, and that irritates the media. But I think that he will be reelected in 2012, and I think that many of the predictions of the media will not come to pass. I don't think the Democrats will be turned out. So ask me why? Well, read the book.
Good idea. What do you like best about your book? We have about 30 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you, I love writing dialogue. And as Ricky said, it's sort of a man's book in that sense. But dialogue is fun to write for one simple reason. All you have to do is imagine the person and listen to the people and write down what they say. Just put it down.
Thank you so much, Mr. Garden. This has been a lot of fun. I want you to show your book again.
Here it is, everybody. And I hope you go out and buy it. But most of all, pay attention to what's going on. Love your country. I do.